Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about how do you know if you're a witch? It's a question I get asked a lot. So I thought I'd do a video about it. But before we do, I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com, author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. And if you want to know more about witchcraft, Wicca, shadow work and tarot, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. If you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice but you're just not sure, then have a look at my free video, How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. The link is in the description field below this video. I do get asked this question a lot, and it's fair enough because there's a lot of different connotations associated with the word witch. It's certainly a word that's been vilified a lot, terribly misunderstood and demonized. And some people embrace it. Other people are very reluctant to call themselves a witch. And to discover that you are a witch means that you need to connect to what witches do. Witchcraft is a very broad topic, so it's not like one witch's boot suits all witches. There's many different types of witch, particularly in modern culture. We've got lots of different labels that we'll put on witches, whereas traditionally there wasn't really any labels. It was just you're a witch or not. But now we've got different types of witch, hedge witches, green witches, Wiccan witches. We've got lunar witches and all sorts of styles of witchcraft. So one thing to know that you're a witch, it's another to sort of think, well, do I need to actually then subcategorize myself? Well, it's not necessary, but how do you know if you're a witch in the first place? The first thing you need to do, of course, is look at what is a witch. Have a knowledge of what a witch is, so you do your research. The occult axiom, to know, to will, to dare, to be silent. The first part is to know. So you need to know what witches do in order to know if you are indeed a witch. And witches do lots of different things. There's different witches. So basically what all witches have in common is that we practice magic. Witchcraft and magic are like this. I don't know of any witch or anyone who calls themselves a witch that wouldn't practice magic, because witchcraft is full of magic. It is magic, essentially. So magic is something that you probably would have an interest in. It's something that you believe in as well. And you may find with witchcraft particularly, you may be drawn to a particular type of magic that we would call simple magic or sympathetic magic, folk magic. It's more of what was called back in the day low magic, because it tended to be practiced by people of the lower socioeconomic class. So this is the magic where you're working with the earth. You're working with literally the earth. You could be working with dirt from graveyards. You could be working with burying things in your own backyard, working with rocks and gemstones from the earth, working with herbs from the earth, connecting to the elements, to air, to fire, to water, to earth, calling on the earth elements, for example, to do a spell that's more earth-based, or working with the air element and the sylphs. All different ways that you would be working with nature, basically what is around us in nature that we can pretty much physically connect with, as well as connect with on an energetic level. So traditionally, witchcraft is really more that earthy style of magic. When it comes to Western witchcraft, though, because ceremonial magic influenced Western culture to such an extent, it influenced Wicca back in the early days of Wicca. So from a Wiccan perspective, we have ceremonial magic weaving its way into witchcraft in the West. A lot of Wiccans practice both sympathetic magic and ceremonial magic. When I was in the coven, my first coven, we practiced both ceremonial magic and sympathetic magic. In the second coven, we just practiced pretty much sympathetic magic. I have heard some people say that they've been told that if you are Wiccan, you have to practice ceremonial magic. I don't believe that is the case. It certainly wasn't mandatory when I was going through. We learned some ceremonial magic, but everyone had their preference. Some preferred sympathetic magic, others preferred ceremonial magic. And when it came to our own personal practices, we just did whatever we felt we were drawn to do. I like to do sometimes a bit of both, but I'm more sympathetically magic oriented than I am ceremonial magic oriented these days. You'll have a sense of, when you practice magic, you'll feel enlivened by it. It's something that enlivens you. Even though it can take energy, particularly if you were doing it a lot, say professionally, as a professional witch who was spell casting for people, it would take a lot of energy, and you have to really be careful with making sure that you balance your energy. There's something enlivening about it because it's fun, it's crafty. That's why it's called craft. It's crafty stuff. You get your hands dirty in witchcraft. Witchcraft, from that sympathetic folk magic point of view, is very much getting your hands into the earth and working with your hands, whereas ceremonial magic, which is more for the magicians and I guess the Wiccans that like to practice it, is more heady. It's coming much more from a conceptual background, and it's coming very much from the upper echelons of European culture as well. The wealthy were the people who could afford to learn ceremonial magic and also practice it. So it's called high magic for that reason. It was the magic of the higher classes. But witchcraft itself tends to be magic of the people, magic of the peasantry, magic of the people who weren't necessarily wealthy. It's something that is very much within the community. It's more of a communal type of energy. So you'll feel when you're practicing magic that it gives you a sense of connection. The practice of magic itself, working with the herbs, working with, getting your hands dirty, working with the candles, working with petitions, it's like it gives you a sense of connection to something greater than yourself. It gives you a connection to yourself. And it's a spiritual practice in and of itself in that sense, because you're connecting to other beings often with witchcraft. You might be working with the elements, they're the elementals. You might be working with various different spirits, like you might work with nature spirits, for example. You could be working with deities, for example. Any energy that has this sort of a spiritual nature, you're connecting with the other. You're connecting with that which is hidden from the norm, and that opens you up to a sense of expansion. You get to feel a sense of how big the world really is, that what we can see and touch and taste with our five senses isn't all there is, that there's more to living, there's more to life than what we've been told from that more scientist or scientism point of view, or that materialistic point of view. So as a witch, you're going to want to connect to this unseen realm and feel connected to yourself and to nature and to spirit when you practice magic. You also have a desire to want to be more autonomous in your life and use magic to help you take action to change your life in ways that you want to change it, to direct your life in ways that you want to direct it. You'll know that you're not just a jellyfish floating around in the ocean, that you have the ability to be able to work with where you really want to be and help yourself get there. And that's a matter of practicing magic, and also a matter of balancing that will and balancing that with the ability to also flow with where your life path also is guiding you. It's a unification. Magic, like when you're practicing magic, you feel connected to it, you feel one with it, you feel unified with it. So if you are interested in witchcraft, you're probably going to want to practice some magic, and when you do, you're going to feel that connection. It's going to be fun, okay? Fun stuff. You'll also find that you may be geared towards healing, whether that's just healing towards yourself or healing towards family and friends, or healing more broadly as a profession. A lot of witches study Reiki. A lot of witches do different types of healing modalities. Because traditionally, witches were also the healers. People would go to the witch for magic, they'd also go to the witch for healing. So witches were healers as well. Often the knowledge of herbs and natural medicines was in the realm of the witch. Divination is another thing you're probably interested in as well. So you will find yourself wanting to practice maybe tarot or scrying or some form of divination. Practice them all, have a play with them all and see which ones resonate with you. It's something that most witches that I know have an interest in, or at least dabble in, even if it's not your forte. It's something that pretty much witches also did. People would go to the village witch and for divination as well. And for counselling too. There's an element of the counsellor or the coach in the modern sense associated with the witch too. So when people would go for guidance, whether it was for healing, for magic, for divination, there'd be an element of guidance there as well. So to a certain extent, a witch kind of has to be a counsellor too. So that shadow work that we do with ourselves to be able to keep us in touch with who we really are and understand ourselves can also help us understand other people too, so that we can make space for other people when they're struggling with something, or you're helping them with something, whether that's magic or divination or healing. There's that daring that you will probably would feel too. It's dare to practice magic, dare to be autonomous, dare to announce your personal sovereignty in the world. Something that characterizes all magical folk is this belief that we are sovereign beings, that there is no authority really other than ourselves. And whilst authority has its place when it comes to organisation of a mass of people, when it comes to how we run our lives and how we take care of ourselves, that is something that each individual has or should have total autonomy over as adults. And so we've often been persecuted in many cultures, not just in Western culture, in many other cultures as well, because of that more independent, autonomous, sovereign connection that we have with ourselves. We're not herd animals. It's kind of a joke where you'd say, you know, trying to get a bunch of pagans to come together or witches to come together or organise is a bit like trying to herd cats because we do tend to be quite more individualistic. And it can be difficult sometimes to try and organise us to get together all together. We even had that trouble with the coven as well, sometimes just getting everybody together. Because we are a bit like cats, I guess. We do tend to be a little bit more independent, especially in our thinking. And that characterises being magical in general. Now, you may also find that these definitions of what it's like to be a witch could also apply to shamanism as well. Personally, I believe shamanism and witchcraft are the same thing. It's just that we label shamans as being something that isn't European, whereas witch is something we'd label as European, because the whole witch thing in Western culture anyway comes from that European connection. But when we look at how we would label shamans from traditional cultures, and those traditional cultures themselves would probably say, well, they're witches, then you can see shamans and witches do the same thing, essentially. Magic, working with spirits, divination, healing, it's exactly the same thing. In this day and age, because the word witch has been so vilified, a lot of people prefer to call themselves shamans because it does have a more positive connection to it. And I can understand why people would do that. But for me, a witch and a shaman are essentially the same thing. They're practicing something within a particular tradition, and they're practicing the same things. Magic, healing, divination, spirit work, and they also tend to be more autonomous, individualistic type of beings as well. So that's my take on the shamanism. The magician side of it, which is more the ceremonial, magical side of it, enters into witchcraft too, particularly if you're into ceremonial magic. Magic is magic. And if you are feeling that you are a witch, you're going to have that connection to magic. You may even connect to the word witch itself. It may feel more appropriate to you than maybe calling yourself a shaman or calling yourself some other version of a magic worker, for example, or it might not. You might not like the name witch. It might be something that you still feel a bit scared about because of all of the vilification. So I hope that that helps you understand that if you resonate with all of these things, then, and you resonate with the witchcraft thing itself, that you probably have come home to your true path. And congratulations for coming home to it, because it is a truly beautiful path. And that's one of the reasons why I love teaching it. So if you want to learn witchcraft with me, do take a look at the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It is an eclectic form of Wiccan practice, and I call it Wiccan practice because it does, the history of my tradition stems from Wicca, essentially. And I do like to teach the Sabbats and the lunar rites and those things that belong more to a traditional Wiccan practice. And of course the magic side of it and the energy work and a little bit of shadow work as well. It gets you practicing the course, practicing witchcraft, practicing your craft, your connection on a daily basis to bring all of the knowledge that you may have already or are going to assemble together into an actual practice, because that's how we learn. We learn through doing. So if you want to learn witchcraft with me, do take a look at the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. The link is in the description field below this video. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I thank you all for supporting my channel. I will see you on the next video. Blessed be.